Hey, Steve Stine from GuitarZoom here. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about the importance of touch and tone, ultimately dynamics, in your playing. All right, so what I'd like to talk to you about that's really important, in my opinion, isn't just how many scales you know or how fast you play. Those are all incredibly important as well. But it's really learning to dial in the way things feel and then the way things sound to you, and then be able to kind of respond to that in a dynamic fashion. So if we think about playing, for instance, if I just start off by having a dry signal here. So the first thing that I need to do, to the best of my ability, I'm not telling you to go out and buy a bunch of new gear or anything like that. I'm just saying you want to be inspired by your gear. You want to be inspired by your guitar, right? And what are some things that you could do to make that inspiration happen? Well, very simple things like maybe a setup. Maybe you haven't had your guitar set up in a while, and if you bring it into a guitar store, they can set it up for you, and it will feel different. It'll feel great. I guarantee you, if you were in my studio and you played a couple of the guitars that I have here, you may not like the way that they're set up, but you would certainly say, wow, those are really easy to play. Certainly this guitar is one of those. So, getting a setup, getting new strings put on, maybe a different gauge of string. Maybe you've been playing really heavy strings or heavier strings than maybe you should be, and going to a little bit lighter gauge might inspire you, or vice versa. Having the neck adjusted a little bit so the strings are a little bit closer, or a little further away, or whatever it is that you need. Basic things like that. And then we move into, plugging in and getting a tone from your guitar amp, whatever amp you might be using. And for me, this is really important. So if I take, right now I'm plugged into this Synergy amp over here, and I'm using kind of the Tweed Deluxe sound, the module back there. And I really like that tone for that. When I think about playing, I always think about dynamics. Like when you use your guitar pick, being able to draw out volume differences and picking attack differences, things like that. Not just the licks that or the scale that or things like that. You're going to use those. But, try and think differently about the way you're approaching your playing. Think more about how does it feel and how does it sound when you play. Getting different kinds of sounds. So getting that core tone, finding the right place to put your volume knob or your, tone control or your toggle switch or whatever it is, kind of experiencing the differences in all of the versatility that your guitar has to offer in that. And then, of course, you've got your guitar tone itself coming from your amplifier, which we're really not going to get into because we all have different things. But, I like to have a clean tone and then more of a crunch tone and then more of my regular guitar tone that I'll use for other stuff. But so usually three things is what I like to get out of that, and I need to be inspired by all three of those guitar tones. So then the next thing is I'm going back to just kind of this kind of bluesy kind of tone there. So next thing is I would put on maybe some delay and some reverb, sort of wrap the signal around with kind of that a blanket, if you will, and not in a bad way, but in a comfortable way. And for me, my delay and my reverb are never loud enough to overtake the actual tone of the guitar, the actual volume of the guitar. It's always something that you kind of hear after you're done. It just sort of sweetens it up right afterwards. So that sort of thing. So first of all, getting your guitar set up, getting the right strings on, that sort of thing. The second thing is dialing in your tone. And then again, the dynamics, the dynamic contrast that you have availability to create through your volume, through your tone control, through your toggle switch, and really exploring those sounds as you're playing. So when you go to play along with somebody, you're going to play over a track or whatever it might be, already going in thinking this is the setting that I want, that's going to provide the most logical connection to that musical situation. And then the second thing is how to approach this. So when I first start playing, unless I want to come out of the gate really energetic and lively, I might have a lot of distortion and be playing up here. Otherwise, I need to think about just kind of easing into and always being aware of all of those dynamic contrasts from playing slow to playing faster. I always call them closed and open positions. So closed position for me is more like playing in a position on the guitar. An open position to me is more thinking about the movement. Whatever scale, whatever you're choosing. It doesn't matter the scale or the key that you're playing in. You can explore anything. But thinking about dynamics, thinking about the fact that when you play lower on the guitar, it's like you're kind of connecting in a more discussion, a conversation. And as you move up the guitar, you might do some more louder discussion, right? And you move up even more. And it's like you're screaming at somebody, and being aware of those dynamic differences that can happen. So as a practice tip for this week, what I would strongly recommend is you start thinking about that, not just rudimentary or fundamental practice elements and, your theory and all these things. Again, they're all great, but really spend some quality time thinking about the way things feel and the way things sound and all of the versatility that is offered to you from the gear that you already have. You don't need to necessarily go out and buy new gear, right? But sometimes that does help. Sometimes getting a different amplifier that connects with you more, or a different guitar that, connects with your fingers and your brain and your ears a little more can make a really big difference. So anyway, take care, stay positive. Of course, keep practicing. Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe for wherever you are. And the last thing is please check out GuitarZoom.com. We have an all-access membership, and I would love for you to see what it is and see if it can help you, all right?